Happy Sabbath to you all. May God bless you, and I would like to invite you for a little health nugget. Today we are going to talk about the key benefits of eating raw foods first. And this is a fascinating subject. So what happens when we eat raw food first? It is, first of all, we have a better glycemic or blood sugar control, because the fiber creates a viscous mass in the gut that holds the glucose back, and that makes that the glucose spike is not as steep, and in consequence also the insulin spike. So basically what happens, one aspect is that we have a better blood sugar control, and we do not develop what they call insulin resistance. That is when you need more and more insulin to take care of your glucose. This relates to increasing your blood pressure and other unpleasant side effects. Now, the second aspect that you have the second benefit that you have is improved satiety and caloric awareness. The chewing and the mechanical processing of raw food enhances satiety signals. This is absolutely fascinating before the higher calorie cooking soft items are eaten. And this has to do with the next step that we are, the step after next that we will refer to this point back. When you eat raw foods that contain heat-sensitive phytonutrients, you obviously preserve them, like vitamin C, sulforaphane, we've spoken about that substance, and polyphenols. So when you eat foods raw, you benefit of these components, and you know, everybody knows today that if you cook a vegetable long enough, the vitamin C is eventually completely destroyed. So you do not get out of cooked food what you get out of raw food. And this is a very interesting aspect. Another benefit, we have an enhanced digestive enzyme activation. And that starts with what they call the cephalic phase of digestion. Cephalic means brain. So the moment you think, you smell, you see food, something happens in your brain that turns on or increases your salivary production, and in your saliva you've got enzymes, especially to break down carbohydrates, lipases, and the concentration of these of the amylase as well as the lipase that is good for the fat digestion increases in your saliva. Your stomach starts to produce stomach acid. It starts to produce pepsinogen, which is used for protein digestion. Even your pancreas starts to turn up its activity, and that is before you have even put one portion of food in your mouth. That happens all just by interacting thought, smell, sight. Even your insulin starts to rise already before you have eaten your first glucose molecule. So, and I think that is important. That is why it's also important in the preparation of a meal to have a layout that is appealing, that is attracting, because I do not know whether you say this in English as well, but in German we have the saying, it goes like the eye eats as well, or the eye eats, the mouth obviously does the eating as well too. Then we have another effect that is on the gut microbiome. Whatever is not digested, that is the broad definition of fiber, it is also called prebiotic because it means it serves something that lives And here we are talking about the millions and trillions of gut bacteria that live largely in our large intestine, and they are responsible for a better immune function if we eat the raw foods first. So here you've got the list of these things. A couple of things happen, and while I was preparing this yesterday, I just looked up in Ellen White's writings. There are several quotes, but I chose this one. It says here, grains, fruits, nuts, and vegetables constitute the diet chosen for us by our Creator. By the way, what does the world say today? What is the diet? What is the thing to do in diet today? Keto, carnivore, isn't it? But that is what not was prepared by God in the beginning. They impart a strength, a power of endurance, and a vigor of intellect that are not afforded by a more complex and stimulating diet. So foods prepared in as simple and natural a manner as possible. That is also a verdict against junk food. So that would mean you start your meal with something that comes right out of nature, so to speak, out of the hand of God. And historically, I found description here of the Battle Creek Sanitarium. That was a huge sanitarium that was run by Seventh-day Adventists at Battle Creek, where you also had the church headquarters at the time. And it was under the leading of Dr. Kellogg. And they served for breakfast raw foods first. And for dinner, they served raw vegetables or salads first, and then cooked grains and and the other foods that followed. Now, the thing that I would like to highlight here, and that is the second level. I just mentioned to you the physical level, but there's also a spiritual level, because the physiological laws that you have that govern your body were created by God. They're just a reflection of His character. So putting light, natural food at the beginning of the meal, and we saw the benefits that it generates, what could that mean if we try to interpret or get a meaning out of the physical laws? How does it reflect to the spiritual? I think one of the most beautiful aspects to me is before you eat something that your hand has made, you eat something that His hand has made. You get that message? That is a basic principle of salvation. It is when He has turned our hearts around, that is when we start our work. So the principle embedded here would be, I choose humility, submitting to God, instead of seeking my pleasure and doing whatever, eating whatever I like. I choose temperance before taste, because it helps me to control my appetite. And I choose harmony before indulgence. So every meal can become, by my choice, an act of worship, like the Lord's Supper. And today we have potluck, and it is my wish that there's enough salad to start raw off. Thank you.